Seven.
Hello, everyone. This is Data Driven Chat, and today I'm very happy to introduce Alexander Mushore, who is actor and scriptwriter, and he works currently at the Royal Shakespeare Company, one of the most sought after companies in the world. Well, in Europe, definitely, in England for sure, and I'm pretty sure that many actors want to work there. And he's also a company manager for the theater for the company called Tangle. He had an amazing career, and I'm very, very happy to have him with us today. Hi, Alexander.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot for finding the time. And kind of to kick off our today's discussion, which is going to be mainly on artificial intelligence and data science and creativity and performing arts. So you have a pretty amazing career for an actor. So you started your career in marketing.
Yes.
And then you worked in one of the best behavioral science laboratories. You were a lab manager
Yes.
in the behavioral science laboratory of the University of Warwick.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about your personal journey? How did you decide to become an actor, and whether all this experience, from marketing and behavioral science actually helps you in your current career?
Absolutely. So I started, as you said, within marketing. So I studied a degree in marketing and psychology. And that was after school when I'd actually always wanted to be an actor. That was always my goal. Growing up, my family are quite they're performers in general. My mom's an amazing dancer. My aunt's a musician, and I would go to the theater a lot to watch shows. And I would just always be in awe of what's going on stage. People just being completely free and just letting themselves go, and like telling a story, which I think is one of the most it's a very natural human thing to do, like just to tell stories. So after school, I wanted to go and be an actor, but at that time there was a lot of talk in the news about unemployment within people who study acting or go to drama school. And I remember my parents were very much like, you need to do something else. You need to do something serious. So I listened to their advice, and, like making that decision, like going between what I really want to do and then actually doing something serious, I found kind of like a compromise in psychology and psychology and marketing, because it's very much to do with people and people's behavior, and then also how you can, I guess, access what people want and need at whatever time. So I studied, went to go study that, and I actually really enjoyed it. I found that it just, as a subjects to study, it really kind of unearthed an extra dimension to what I was interested in about acting and theater in general. So having done that, having studied acting and having studied marketing and psychology, I did want to still go into acting, but I always had that in the back of my mind that one day that's going to happen for me. I did a master's in organizational psychology. Again, just my interest in people. And also I was looking at organizations because my mother works in the NHS, and she would always tell me about like politics within the organization and what's going on there. And I just thought, okay, well, this would be another way to kind of go in and like really utilize my interest and go into it. And then after that, I went to, obviously, then I worked in the behavioral science lab. Well, no, actually, I went into marketing first, working in various marketing roles. And then I found myself at the behavioral science lab, where I was with you and other professors running research experiments. And then also, like being an active presence within the decision research at Warwick group as well, which is all very great and interesting for me. So, but alongside that, which, yeah, something you might have not have known, actually. I was actually doing part-time acting classes in the evenings. So I was keeping that up. And I was also doing amateur theater as well, kind of keeping my foot in that door. It was always something that I just knew that I needed to do. I knew that I wanted to do, almost honoring my childhood like self. So I basically, after some time of just doing the evening classes, I started auditioning for drama schools again while I was working. I auditioned 1 year for a few schools, and I didn't get in. I even auditioned for like a drama school in Canada as well, and I didn't get into any of the schools. But quite it's quite a usual thing that you'll have to audition a number of years before you get into school. In my
Right.
second year, I auditioned for a few schools. Then I got into Bristol Vic, and that's how I found myself in acting. Um, and yeah, very much when I went into drama school, um, I found that my background in having worked at the behavioral science lab and having had life experience before actually informed a lot of what I did within my acting, and it was very, very useful. And I think in general, for me, like in my acting right now, the everything that I learned within psychology and behavioral science has been invaluable for me, like as an actor, because ultimately, as an actor, you're very interested in human behavior, and you're interested in why people are the way they are. And when you come to approaching a character, like having that background in behavioral science and psychology, I'm able to analyze characters' backgrounds and journeys with a lot of precision and specificity as well, because I've had that background in actually researching and learning about people. Um, uh, and yeah, I guess as well, which is something I also believe. I believe that performance in acting is very much also. I find that it also is a science. It's also about being obviously in touch with your intuition and just following and like responding to behavior. But it's very much a science in the way that that happens. And I think everyone who's an actor actually probably does that as well, like is part of this whole science of back and forth, but it's more of an unconscious thing. So I think coming from the background of knowing the tenets of like psychology and behavioral science, I'm able to kind of know what some of the rules have been historically within human behavior, and have that in my mind, and then be able to throw it away and just live like within the moment, with that in the back of my mind. So it's been very, very, yeah, it's been very, very useful to me, and also very interesting, as I approach different characters to kind of think about, oh, this is kind of related to that, and it's fascinating to me.
I just want to kind of pick a little bit on what you said about how you got into marketing and because you basically your parents told you so. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people face that challenge.
Yes, ages. Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, my husband is he basically is an award-winning photographer, but
Mm.
he also has an engineering degree because his parents told him it's probably not a very good idea to do photography. So why do you think there is such sort of hesitation in the society to kind of let kids go into whatever they want to do? You want to do theater or
Mm, mm.
art. So why do all kind of well not all, but many I guess many parents want their kids to have some sort of degree
Yeah,
that is very that pays
yeah,
that definitely pays, right?
yeah.
So something like an economist, or you should study finance, or you should get an MBA. So why do you think we're
Yeah.
so kind of insecure?
Um,
Is that
I
insecure?
think
Is that insecurity? I guess, yeah.
I guess it's like all parents. I guess they want to protect their children. So I guess there must be an element of being quite risk averse, and like that, a child going into the arts is a big risk. It's a big red flag, because there is no guarantee in money. You can either do very, very well, or you could do like you might not do very well at all. You might not earn that much money, and it's unconventional. I guess it's also seen as an unconventional lifestyle because you're making art, and it's in like in contrast to maybe engineering and maths and everything. It's not a finite thing. It's not something you can put your finger on and this is right and this leads to this and this and this and this. There's no like structure. There is no guaranteed path, or there is no right path. There is no right or wrong almost in it. So it's a big risk for parents. So I can really understand my own parents, their own concerns in terms of me going into this, because ultimately they had no way of guaranteeing that I would be able to make any sort of income. And also, like in terms of that, trying to make sure that I'm happy as well and that I'm fulfilled. Like they feel that the formula that the society has had is that you go out there, you get a normal job, you have a family, you have kids, you get a house. That is happiness, and that's like kind of what we've been fed over years and years. But I think like that's starting to change, I guess, with more time as people start to broaden their horizons and stuff. But I think the main part of it is that risk aversion. Try and protect your child, and get them to live like a sustainable life.
Yeah, so I guess there are many parallels with behavioral science, like you said, because it's also not a precise
Yeah,
subject, right? It's I
yeah,
mean, there are some things that we observe, every time we run some experiments or some tests, but there is no guarantee that you will see a particular effect. Um, if you had to pick one thing that you're most proud of, it could be a
Mm.
project, it could be an achievement. What would you pick?
Oh, such a difficult question, Ghana. But yeah, so it would probably be because I guess in 1 year I kind of had two like achievements that I was very very proud of. Um, from getting a job at the RSC, which I'd always like dreamed I would actually work at, like
Yeah,
being able to get
million people would kill for that job.
absolutely, yeah. And yeah, just to be there and to be able to learn from all of them and to be able to do Shakespeare in one of the places that has like the best knowledge of Shakespeare and like how to access the text and yeah, and just to be on the stage, and that was a very big achievement of mine that I was super super proud of.
Yeah, I just want to say to the listeners who maybe don't know your work, that this year you are in Taming of the Shrew and Measure for Measure,
That's
which
right.
are fantastic, both fantastic plays. So it must
Yeah,
be really exciting
absolutely.
to participate in this and to be able to do
Yeah,
that.
to be a part of it, absolutely. And this season of Shakespeare was the first in I can't remember. I don't have the exact figure, but in a while that they've done plays completely in repertoire, and they've taken all three plays. So I was involved in two productions, but they've taken all three productions across the UK on a tour. That was actually cut short because of Corona.
Right.
So
We'll get to that
yeah,
in a second.
but basically, also what that means essentially is there was a group of actors, and we all are involved in multiple productions, meaning that we get to try different characters in different plays, like within the same season. So we're not just in one singular play, and we get to kind of flex our acting muscles and try different things out. And as an actor, learning on the job, that's the best kind of job that you could have, I think, in the theater. And I guess another like achievement. I know you only asked me for one,
It's
but
okay. I'll let you get away with two.
Another achievement that I was really really proud of was writing my writing my play that I performed in London as a rehearsal, like a stage reading. I got to do it very much based on things that mattered to me, like in terms of my connection to my family, my culture. It was called The Coal Train.
So
And
that's
yeah,
within the Tangle Tangle Company? Is that?
No, this
Oh
is,
no,
yeah,
okay,
this is
that's separate. Okay.
separate to that actually. But I did have a lot of help and support from my boss at Tangle, the artistic director, Anna Coombs. She was also very helpful to me during that process. So yeah, I basically wrote a script, got some great friends together to come and read the script with me, and then we put on a production of it in London at the Actors Centre. And that was very proud because I'd never written anything before, and I never thought that I could do that, and I did it. So I was very proud of that because it just shows that when you put your mind to something, you can make it happen.
Awesome. Yeah. We a lot of people who listen to this podcast are interested in data science or technology or artificial intelligence. And,
Mm.
they're writing some models for creativity potentially. But let's just forget about coronavirus for a second and talk about technology in theater, right?
Okay.
How does technology influence modern theater, or does it influence modern theater?
Mm.
I just want to talk about kind of under normal circumstances.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID. Yes, it does have a well. It does have a big impact, and it has been getting more like that's been growing and growing over time. I guess in terms of what you see on your TV screens, actually starting to get reflected into what you see on the stage as well in terms of theater. Like you're getting there's this trend for, I guess, dystopian theater. Like you think about Black Mirror, you'll see stories like that now on the stage, where I guess the difference between watching TV and being involved in a theater or going to theater production is within the theater production, you are immersed in that world. So you're getting what I could see I guess in a lot of modern theater is, let's take you from that world that you see on TV. Actually, we're going to put you right in the center of that world. So I guess I don't know, trying to think of recent examples. Or if you think about like Stranger Things in London at the moment, there is an immersive theater experience that you can go to that'll
Mm.
put you in the Stranger Things world. And yeah, I guess in general as well, going from that, the RSC were quite influential in one of their productions of The Tempest.
Mhm.
One of his a great play, which has a lot of magic and amazing imagery, and they partnered up with the Imaginarium Studios, I believe, and they basically had Ariel is a character within the play. And Ariel is a spirit of the air, and the actor who takes on that role has a lot to do because
Mhm.
they basically have to transform and to get the audience to see all of the images that but basically, and all of the powers that Ariel has. So being able to go with the wind and turn into fire, go with the water, everything, and just create this world. So yeah, in 2016, they did a production of this, and they actually had this huge projection of Ariel using motion capture technology, what the actor kind of put on at that time, and actually moved along, and basically with his one of the famous speeches, actually was able to turn into a lot of the images that character says, in terms of turning into fire. How does an actor turn into fire on stage? And then also just being something that isn't human, actually being able to show that in a bigger, in a big way,
Mhm.
essentially. They were able to do that quite successfully, and it was a production I saw, and I remember just sitting back and thinking, wow, okay, so this is the future. This is the future of theater. We're actually able to create these theaters or these images, and actors are able to be a part of that and use their body and their unique movement to contribute to that, to still maintain the performance element of a human doing it, as opposed to maybe like artificial intelligence completely just doing that.
Yeah, obviously, you are at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and
Mhm.
I know that there is also, apart from that, there is like really sophisticated engineering going into, for example, the light system. I personally watched a documentary that is like 90 minutes long on how the lights are moving and how they are designed in the Royal Shakespeare Company, because
Yeah.
that's a science in itself. And also, I
Mm.
think you guys are doing the kind of live capture, right, of
Yes,
performances.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
is it difficult? Like, is it different? Is it a different experience to play when you're being captured live like this, or
Oh,
is it, the same? Like, do you have to
well,
like think about the audience and the cameras, or do you do anything special for these
special
things?
performances. Well, like the team that the RSE has to do those live froms are yeah, it's actually incredible to see like the amount of work that goes into that. And then obviously the lighting and sound team that we have at the RSC, like the stuff that they can do is incredible, and that in itself is another science. And when you have one of those live from performances, you basically get everyone's like it's all hands on deck. Like you get all the departments in, and it's a completely for that one performance that you're doing. It is a different experience. We're not well, sometimes things could be directed slightly different. So we do have a live from rehearsal before we actually do the actual streaming, and within that, the director or the assistant director will be present, and might do some mini tweaks in terms of how things are staged. So you can get like a good feel for things, and then also that is also filmed, that rehearsal, so they can go back and watch and then give notes to the actors before the actual live from, because some things are going to be it's just going to be captured differently on camera than it is like within the room, mainly. So when the live from stream on that day, it is a different atmosphere within the theater, because for one, you don't have as many audience members in the audience.
Hmm.
You only have like a few, like in specific parts of the auditorium as well. Another reason for that is because of the crazy equipment that they have to try to capture like
Hmm.
all that's happening on stage, like in a like in this panning way. So you get like uh these cameras going like pretty much all across the auditorium. Anyone who's interested in this, Amy Trigg, one of the actors in the same productions as me, Taming the Shrew and Measure for Measure, has a vlog on YouTube
Hmm.
called The Diaries, and she actually captures like what happens like during a live from like backstage. So if anyone's interested in checking out, they
Yeah,
can check
awesome.
that out.
I will definitely include the link to this vlog. Yeah,
Nice.
no. So if
Um,
you're watching this, please check out kind of everything that is written underneath the video. There will be the link.
but yeah, it is just it's a different feel altogether. And we also have microphones. So every actor has a microphone on, that you wear. And that also, then just the awareness of having that, even though we go on stage every day and we're in front of audiences, just knowing that we've got a microphone on, that there's a camera somewhere, and you just have that thing in your mind, just like, please do not look directly into the camera, because that means you're aware that the camera's there. You have all of these random thoughts that just pop into your head. And it's just because, I guess, of the pressure, just knowing that it's going across the UK and even internationally on this live stream. But it is pretty amazing how they do it and how it looks afterwards.
Mhm. So we've talked about the pre-COVID state, and we talked about the Royal Shakespeare Company. and what it does. So now kind of let's move to COVID. So currently what you're describing with, like you are doing kind of a play to a production to an empty theater is very familiar to a lot of academics right now, because that's how we teach. We kind of go into empty room and we are being captured by the cameras,
Right.
which is like
Yeah.
really weird, because like normally you have a lot of students and all of a sudden you have nobody there. Yeah. So can you tell us how the coronavirus affected, performing arts and Royal Shakespeare Company? How does rehearsing, do rehearsals happen, and how do you guys like all get on Zoom or Skype and
Oh,
rehearse? Like, how does that work? Can you tell us kind of the kitchen of coronavirus acting?
sure thing. So so the way that we were affected, the RSC, obviously, we pretty much had been involved in some meetings before Boris Johnson's announcement, basically saying that this potentially could happen, that we might need to end the tour early, to kind of wait and see what happens. And we were in Newcastle at the time, and we still had a week left in Newcastle, and we obviously on the Monday we found out that was it. They're closing, it's shutting down performances. We still had to go to Blackpool, and actually we were going to go to Chicago and to Washington, and also we were due to go to Korea and Japan as well. So as that, and we're going to take Taming the Shrew abroad. So that obviously was cancelled. And then also the Blackpool leg, where we still had some more measure for measure performances to go. So basically, we our performances were cut short. There's nothing really we can do, I guess, about that.
So you just have to wait until the quarantine is lifted. Is that the current strategy?
So that was the instruction pretty much that we were given, because no one really knew how things were going to progress. But as it stands, because all the theaters have a certain program to kind of meet, we won't be going back to these shows, because obviously during all this time we should have still been performing all this time, and then the theaters that we'd be going to obviously have the program still to come that they still need to put on at some point. So like the decision has been made to, we'll stop the tour, essentially. So that just means that a lot of people are just you're out of a job, essentially. You've been performing for a while, like under this job, and then you kind of have to just just end. That hit one of the companies within the RSC currently. They're doing Europeana, which was ready to go on stage, and because of a number of reasons, I guess, within trying to within financial reasons as well, and also programming, is now not going to be shown to an audience, or like at the moment that's the decision that has been taken, like with a heavy heart and stuff. So like you get lots of actors, you're ready to go, like, and this happened in a number of theaters as well along the UK, ready to go, and you've rehearsed the show, ready for an audience, and then now obviously it's not gonna happen in that way. I know there's been some smaller scale shows that, well, depending on like the amount of cast, you can still do the play via Zoom, like if it's a small cast. So that's been happening, and that's quite interesting to see, actually, because it's a different.
So how does that happen? Like you sit in your room, or you still do? Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just that, actually. So you'll have a background, or whatever background you look. Well, I guess you could even it's not something that I've seen, but I guess you could make a background via Zoom of where you should be. But what I've seen happen is having like a black background, and each actor in their rooms, wherever they are, and basically acting it via Zoom. Maybe sometimes you could be looking at the camera and like directing it there, or if you know where the other actor is, directing it to them, like at the side or whatever, which is another form that people have been using via Zoom to still continue with the shows that they plan to do. in terms of rehearsal and acting, there's a number of shows that are still programmed and still to happen that are rehearsing via Zoom. Just in the same way, you'll be reading your lines with the person here. You could even get up, I guess, as well, and play around with your physicality and stuff like via Zoom with the director in the room on Zoom. So that's been happening. And I think with this coronavirus, before all of coronavirus, we were doing a lot of auditions via self-tape. So that was a big way to audition for things, just filming yourself doing audition and sending it off. And I think maybe after Corona, or like whilst Corona's happening, obviously those auditions are happening. But that sounds like something that will continue and maybe increase now. Maybe even for theatre, we'll get more self-taping as an audition modality.
Mm-hmm. So, you kind of started to touch on kind of the future. So there's a lot of speculation right now that we will not go back to like the old normal. So there will be some sort of new normal. So what do you think is the future? Because it's hard to, well, first of all, we don't know how long it's going to last. Well, they now said it's like October or something like this, right? So in different countries it's different, but yeah, I guess some countries would want to get out of the quarantine earlier, some later. But the fact of the matter is probably until pretty much the end of this year we're gonna be online. So it's very hard to imagine, theater without kind of physical, like the experience that you described. It probably works, but still, like I think you probably need. I mean, this is probably where you could apply your creative talent and write a script for like purely Zoom, Zoom play, or I don't understand why data scientists are not working on this stuff, because like it would be cool to do some holographic projections of people. That'd be awesome. Like you can actually watch a performance in your bedroom or something, and people are acting, at home. So that'd be a really cool technical project. But what do you think? Like, what will the future bring? Like, what would be the kind of when we get out of Corona? I know that's purely speculative, but do you think you're gonna kind of go back to traditional acting, or will there be some sort of mix or hybrid methods now?
Well, I would hope, next year that we would be able to go back to normal within theatre in terms of how we perform them. Whether that is for there's been talks about maybe reducing audience sizes so you can still have some element of like distance between audience members. The only thing I guess is like as actors on stage, you have, well, with your other actors, your fellow comics, there is no way to really social distance from them, because you'll get quite close and personal with them sometimes. And I think there's a beauty in within acting. One thing that I found is actually the difference between Zoom acting, like on camera, and the difference between being on stage with someone, is you have this connection and you have access to their energy in a way. So you can respond to their energy, respond to their behavior in a more naturalistic way, as humans, as we're supposed to, I guess. So for that reason, I would hope that we would go back to normal within theatre shows and the like. But as you said, with regards to Zoom acting and like online things, I think that's probably going to that's probably going to merge with what we have going on at the moment with regards to theatre. We might have a more theatre being accessed via streams, so filming shows, and then so people can watch them at home, so people can still access them. I think in general, theatre is going to really struggle in terms of when things go back, when we're actually allowed to go back and everything. We've seen theatres go into administration because financially as well. It's a very difficult and hard industry to sustain. So yeah, my worry is, I guess, in the future, like we're gonna lose a lot of great regional theaters who create some great and challenging, daring work. And yeah, I hope following this that people still go to the theater in whatever way we can, like that is safe and possible to do so, because yeah, as an industry, it's going to be quite difficult to kind of come back from this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's probably also an opportunity because like I already like this thought already came into my mind, that one could write something that um, actually reflects the current environment, and
Yeah, yeah,
instead of kind of showing, I don't know, falling in love on stage. I think it's
yeah,
a lot more difficult to show kind of falling in love via Zoom. So,
yeah.
but that happens, right? The people meet online, and I have friends who met online and got
Yeah,
married eventually. So yeah, of course they met in person before before that. But I think the main communication actually happened online, and I hope that you guys are going to also kind of use this as an opportunity to develop maybe some creative things, and even if they are not in kind of physical world, but more in
yeah,
virtual
yeah.
world. So yeah,
There's
and
been lovely, yeah, sorry. There's been some
yeah, go ahead.
lovely work done with regards to, yeah, with regards to corona virus in terms of like online like content. I think like there's like short scripts that have been made and like written, like yeah, again showing the connection and lack of connection, I guess, that you can have like via Zoom, like when you want to connect with someone. And I guess as well, interestingly, I watched a piece the other day. I will try and get the link to it, maybe to
Okay, thank you.
send
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
but yeah, basically showing how at this time in Corona times, people are reflecting a lot, and like there's a lot of thoughts about people in your life and people you appreciate, and people now having the bravery to say what it is that they wanted to say to their loved ones, or to people they like that they potentially did love but they didn't know how to say it, and then now they're able to kind of express themselves because there is that distance there. It's not like you're in person and you actually have to, yeah, you're in person, you can see what their reaction is and everything. I'll send that along to you. But yeah, I would think, and I hope as well that we do have a lot of um, uh, yeah, unique stories generated from this very unique time in all of our lives. Yeah.
Mhm. So currently we have as data scientists, we are developing a lot of artificial intelligence tools.
Yes.
Some of them use kind of natural language processing techniques
Mm.
to train machine learning models so that they could write scripts.
Yes.
Then we also have something like artificially generated actors, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
what is
mm.
your take on these innovations? Is that something you see is going to change theater or performing arts anytime soon, or is it still the technology is still not there to make any actual difference?
So I think, yeah, I watched because we were talking about yeah, outside of this, we were talking about, is it Sunspring, the
Yeah, yeah, Sunspring, the movie, yes. Which
movie?
doesn't
Sure.
make any sense. As I think it's the most agonizing 11 or 12 minutes of your life. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Sunspring is a film that was generated by artificial intelligence. So basically, they collected everything they could find about sci-fi, trained an algorithm, and then this algorithm wrote a script, and you can see the result on YouTube, and it's just horrible. I think it's the most horrific experience. Like for me personally, like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but with that, I thought there was brilliance in it, and the brilliance that I found in it
Mhm.
was that as baseball, basically what it showed is that you need humans
Yeah,
as
you
well,
don't need human.
because those, yeah, the whole team involved in it managed to actually create something with like a vague form of a narrative. And even when they weren't making sense, like some of the actors, I think there was the actress at the end who delivered that monologue to the camera, and it was so emotional. And I thought, wow, she's making sense of what is essentially senseless.
Yes.
So essentially, yeah, making something out of nothing sometimes like will happen. Yeah, with regards to your question about how do I feel about like artificial intelligence and like where it is, obviously like we just talked about, I don't feel like it's where it needs to be, obviously, for us to be able to to really use it as a definitive form to make a show or a short film, for instance. But within that, I think, as we were saying, it is an interesting premise in terms of playing around with different narratives. I guess if the system can create different stories, and they are like Sunspring, that is a big challenge for an actor or a director or a designer to make come to light. So it in itself is a very interesting experiment that I just find interesting. I don't think it will ever replace like a human writer, mainly because there is, like, as I said, I think earlier in our chat, storytelling is at its core a human thing. Like, it's something that we've done for generations and generations, and we've passed down. And sure, like with that, there is like an archetype story that, I guess, like a story form that maybe the artificial intelligence will be able to kind of recognize and then put into practice. But I still feel like it's a very human thing, and very much the same way that we have different writers that we all love and adore. We will never. I think maybe artificial intelligence can be their own writer with their own name or whatever. And we'd be like, oh yeah, have you checked out that new play by that artificial intelligence program? Yeah, cool, I have. Yeah, but I'm watching Shakespeare tomorrow. So yeah, I'm going to go do that instead. So like, I think there's a place for it potentially as an experiment, but I don't think it'll ever replace what we have.
So we just talked about kind of complete replacement, but I have a confession to make, because I wrote a paper on emotional arcs in movies, where we basically took the movie scripts, so subtitles, and we basically try to reconstruct the emotional journey in this subtitle. So we basically take each word, and we are trying to understand, is it a happy or a sad message, and then we kind of accumulate it throughout the movie, and we found that all movies could be partitioned into 6 clusters, 6 emotional arcs, and one of these arcs apparently gives you a lot more money than the other 5, which is kind of U-shaped. When you start with happy, then you go to sad, and then you go back to happy message. So it's not about plot; it's about like language, right? So, and then I got a call from Stockholm Film Festival, and they said, could you come to Stockholm because we want to discuss your paper at the film festival? And I said, well, this is the first time I hear about this type of thing being done, so I basically thought it was a joke, a prank, but then it turned out to be, like the real invitation. So, and I went, and there was a panel, and some of these people are people that I really admire. Like, for example, there were people who made The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, so like all this kind of Scandinavian cool filmmakers. And actually, the people that I was thinking that I'm going to get a lot of criticism from were scriptwriters, because they would tell me, oh, you're just basically saying that, we should make only these emotional arc movies, like nothing else, because they're most profitable. But that's obviously not what we were saying in the paper. We were saying that, you could it's expensive to make a movie, so like you can make these movies and maybe put like 80% of budget into those movies, and then with the 20% of budget you can be as creative as you want, because like you can and that's kind of what Netflix does, right? So they have had this recent movie Roma, which they financed, and it got like 3 Oscars or something. It's very experimental movie, and of course Netflix is very data science, right? They do everything based on data science, like all entertainment is based on data science. And then they created, they created some kind of niche where they produce kind of mass-produced stuff, and then they also can invest in something creative. But anyway, so what I want to tell you is that like I was really kind of cautious about scriptwriters, because I thought I'm gonna be hanged by them. But actually they were the most excited people about this model, because they said, oh, it's so cool, I really like this. And I said, why is that? And they said, well, it's because like when you write a script, you have no idea what you're doing, right? Like you have no idea. And if you could put like your text into some sort of program and it will draw you this emotional arc, at least you know where you are, like what so
that's really, really good.
So do you think like so this is kind of like a decision support? It's not really about it's not about replacing the humans. It's about can this tech actually, do you think there is a place where the tech could help the human human script writer or even human director to kind of see where how they can do things better, or at least just not even help, just give them some sort of feedback before they test it with the audience?
Absolutely. And I think there is a place for that completely. Like as a writer, not knowing like you've written stuff down, but it's like, I don't know, 100 pages or something. And you just like, how do you quantify that into your mind and into the structure, into thinking about each individual character journey, their emotional arc? It happens, I guess, through like, it just happens naturally, I guess. Eventually they'll get to like what it is. But like in a world where everything is really fast right now and you need to meet those deadlines, and you have to try and fit within, you want to find something that is going to resonate with audiences. And how do you test that? This is a very interesting and novel way to go about it. And I think there will be some people who would be absolutely no way will I do that. I'm purist and I'm going to stick to the way that I do. And that's absolutely fine as well. And I think there's a beauty in that as well, because of that human experience. But then I can also see the other side completely, in terms of how it can, how it could help, basically just help people along that journey of like cultivating the script in terms, and because as you rightly said as well, you have no way of testing this with audiences before it gets up there. And in an industry which is all about money as well, as well as the art as well, sometimes it's a way to, it's a novel way to be able to actually test some of these things. Are you resonating with some of the emotional things that people can relate to?
I guess using behavioral science terminology, you get some sort of reference point of what's going on. So another thing I wanted to ask you was about artificially generated actors, because so I was just actually given a talk to school kids yesterday, and I stole this example from a friend of mine who is a filmmaker. He's kind of doing special effects for films, and he basically like there is this example that you can think of, that if you were shooting a movie in 1950s and you needed to show ancient Rome, you would have like 5,000 people who are playing soldiers, and each person would be human, right? Currently, like if you think of movie Troy, right, which is kind of Greek army, but like pretty similar anyway. This is kind of already oldish movie. I think it's 2004 when it came out, but still like every single person in a battle scene, well, not every single, maybe Brad Pitt is real, but like the rest of the guys, they're all computer generated, right? Also, like the recent example of this, like in China, I know in 2018 there was this New Year celebration where there were real people who were hosts, but there were also computer generated, like AI generated hosts
Oh,
of the
yeah,
New
yeah.
Year celebration. So like we
Mhm.
actually see this technology more and more. So
Mhm.
what's your take on this? Is that something that we're going to see? Are we going to see like these avatars anytime soon performing in the theater,
Well,
or is it still kind of yeah, we can't get away from sort of having humans performing.
yeah, I think well, particularly with regards to TV and film, like the examples that you've expressed, I think it's a it's it's a worthwhile way to go about, especially in Corona times, like not like all the social distancing stuff. You wouldn't want to have like 5,000 people all together. So it's a great way to obviously, yeah, obviously have those big crowd scenes, because it's really like unfeasible to be able to direct like 5,000 soldiers all at the same time to do a whole like fight sequence. So I can completely see the value in that, from that standpoint. I think in terms of bringing that to theater, in terms of like Avatar, yeah, Avatar. Are we talking about completely artificial intelligence generated actors, or with a mixture of like humans, so like motion capture,
Yeah. So
like
you gave an example of motion capture. Now, like, yeah, I was just thinking, like, yeah, like completely. No, I mean maybe not the whole performance, but maybe like a mixture of, for example, like you would act with a
yeah, yeah,
partner who
yeah.
is
Or do we
written as an algorithm. Like, is that something that you can imagine, or would it be an interesting experiment, or would it?
I would, yeah, I would totally find that a very interesting experiment, considering as well, like being an actor, being up there with another human being, like you're watching their behaviors and you're responding to them. So if you had an algorithm that was, you'd have to perform, you'd have to respond to that in whatever way. But the only way that I would know how to do that is as if it was like a do it like it's a human, but it's obviously not. So that is just interesting in itself as an experiment, like
Mhm.
down the line. And whether that will whether I can see that happening anytime soon, I can't see it happening anytime like relatively soon. But as a concept, it is interesting, and it is obviously something that people are thinking about now, and that theaters are are going towards. Like I gave that example of obviously of the Tempest, but I think, yeah, that they're always having that. It's almost like that that collaboration between machine and human,
Mhm.
what that can generate as a performance type. And like it's fascinating, because obviously machines being a product of humans, yeah, we're just getting to see like different novel ways that we can integrate it within performance. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was particularly thinking, like it's kind of like in the 90s. I think many kids wanted to be actors, right? But
Mhm, mhm.
currently, like if you ask a small kid, a lot of them want to be animators, like write animations
Oh,
for say Pixar or something like
yeah,
this. So,
yeah,
and you can imagine being an actor and having like multiple of these kind of
yeah,
aliases in digital form that you can use, and probably in that sense um, your portfolio as an actor probably could be quite
I,
diverse, right? Because like you can actually play with these artificially created, or like digital aliases that you could
yeah,
assume.
yeah.
So I think that would be cool.
Yeah, like it does open up your playing range completely. Like you'll be able, like especially to be able to play like non-human people as well, like
Hmm.
which is interesting. Like, and yeah, like, and just this whole aspect of fairy tale, and like going back to our childhood in terms of just imagining like anything. Well, we can basically create anything now, and put that on the screen and use it. And I think that's beautiful as well as a thing. It just shows that there is no limits. Well, like there are, well, in time anyway, there'll be less limits on what we can do and what we can, how we can share our stories. It's just, yeah, evolution of storytelling.
So we talked a lot about technology. Can you tell us what are your current plans? Like, what are you doing right now? What keeps you awake at night?
Oh yeah. So yeah, currently I've been, I guess, since so my the job at the RSC was yeah, was pretty much all that I was doing obviously beforehand. And then I was also doing bits of work for Tangle like as well beforehand. But then now I kind of, when this all happened, it was a great opportunity for me to kind of uh like to slow down,
Mm,
because I'd been going, I feel like on tour and on the road, it had been very much,
very
yeah,
intense.
yeah, very intense. Like, yeah, your foot was always on the gas and you were just going, 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 always moving. And like within me actually before, like I think I generated like a bit of a habit of like just, yeah, always moving, always, what's the next thing, what's the next thing, where am I going, yeah. So it gave me an opportunity to kind of like sit down and just completely slow down, chill. So
Reflect. Hmm.
reflect as well, like in where I am and what I'm doing. And so what I've been taking to do is a lot of yeah, connecting back in with myself in terms of yoga, and I think a lot of people doing this like in exercise and yeah, meditation, and yeah, just reflecting, and then also being able to now access and watch art as well, because I don't, before when I was going all the time I didn't really get the chance to watch many things, and now the a lot of theaters are streaming, like the National Theatre, for instance, the ERC as well, are streaming live from basically of productions. I'm able to now watch those, whereas before I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm able to watch TV shows and like just kind of get in tune with things that I'm interested in again. Books as well, reading those, and yeah, and then also yeah, starting back on my writing as well, and just trying to like
I was hoping
yeah.
you're gonna say that, writing. Yeah. So we can expect something new from you then in
Yes,
the, do you
yeah,
think?
yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
what
awesome.
I'm hoping for.
And
Yeah.
and you also mentioned that there will be yeah, a DVD basically coming out from the performances that you've been doing
That's
with
right. Yeah. For so the whole season of Shakespeare that I was involved in, I was in Taming of the Shrew and Measure for Measure. There's also within that season As You Like It, which is also another brilliant production, and that's so all three of those DVDs will be released at some point this year. I don't have the exact dates yet, but they might be released earlier because of the circumstances. So yeah, and then also yeah, with regards to the RSC as well, anyone interested in that they're also streaming a number of the productions online as well at the moment.
So we're almost at the end of the interview, and this is a question that all people that I interviewed complain about, but I still keep it because
Yeah,
I think it's a good question. But yeah, they don't like it because of the restriction, and so the question goes like this: if I ask you to recommend just one book and one film,
yeah.
well, actually, you could probably also recommend a performance, like a production. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So, what would you pick? But the restriction is like it has to be one each.
One each. Okay.
But it
I
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like tech related or theater related. Just something that inspires
yeah.
you. You know.
So if I can go for all three. So I can go for a
Yeah.
theater production. I can go for a
Yes,
film,
please.
and
Yes, please.
so, in terms of a theater production, one of the best things that I've seen, and it might be because I'm slightly biased as well, but it's a play called The Convert, and it's all about, yeah, I guess it's about religion, and it's well, and how it got introduced into Zimbabwe, and it's all about the conflict that characters have between what they are naturally aligned with, and then also what like the structure of religion in terms of how you must be and how you must act, how that like that changes things, and like the yeah, basically, I'm interested in anything with a little bit of conflict, and I think in decision making, that's a big thing as well. Like when you have it like two opposing ideals, and the struggle between them, and the convert is brilliant for that. Yeah, if anyone has a chance to read it, like I'll give you the link as well for that.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Thank you. Mhm.
yeah, it's by a fantastic writer, Danai Gurira. And yeah, production that I saw, that was just amazing, brilliant. In terms of a film that I would recommend everyone watch, I think Moonlight is an amazing film. It's so beautifully made, and yeah, I think everything that just comes together within it, and then the message of it, very much like follow your own path. And I think I'm very much doing that, and so I'm like connect with that, and I think a lot of people resonate with that in general. Um, and in terms of a book to read, I'm very ashamedly only was introduced to this like within the last couple of years, but it is The Alchemist.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I think a lot of people, like when in my research of the book afterwards, I found out that everyone is talking about how you need to read this book. And yeah, like I'm ashamed that it took me so long, because when I did read it, like I felt like, yeah, like so many people, like it really put a lot of things into perspective, and also a lot of encouragement and motivation to kind of follow your own path, and follow your own personal legend, whatever it is, and making that happen for you in whatever way that works. And that makes things all the more interesting, I think. Yeah, as opposed, because before I would always be like, oh gosh, I could never, like, risk aversion, like from the parents
Mhm.
and everything. But like, being able to just like go there and just follow your instincts, in the end, is I think what life is all about. So yeah, that's another book I'd recommend.
Thank you. So that's a great message. Fantastic choices.
Yeah, thank you.
Some of my favorites there, definitely. And yeah, well, thank you so much for finding the time today to talk to me. It was awesome, and we should do more of this. And I hope that I'm sure that theater will survive, and will
Yeah,
find its way,
thank you.
whatever it is, maybe in some new way. But I'm sure it will survive. And yeah, just to want to say, I hope that we will see more from you, and I'm definitely keen on seeing some more writing and acting.
Get on
And
that.
yeah, good luck, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.